What's up, plant lovers? I'm Devin Wallien, and today I want to take a look at this beautiful garden bed that I have right here, this raised bed. This was the first garden that I planted up when I moved here 4 years ago. So I've had a couple questions about this garden, how I've filled it out, how I've created a really nice dense coverage of the ground so that I can avoid putting mulch each year, and how I kind of played with different textures and basically how I combined all the different plants. So let's take a look at this beautiful garden bed. Now I'm here in Westchester, Pennsylvania, Zone 6B, and this is a southern facing garden bed. South would be this way, so it really gets nice, full, intense sun all summer long. I never irrigate this bed, so I had to choose a lot of very drought tolerant plants. So after I totally cleared it of everything that was growing here before I moved in, the first thing I did was I selected a few different plants that I wanted to be kind of the main players of this garden bed. And because it is in so much hot sun, especially radiating off of the white walls, I went with some bearded iris germanica, as well as some lavender. In particular, this is phenomenal lavender. And then I went with a variety of different sedum stone crops. I planted out these trays that had all of these mixes of different kinds of sedums grown together, something that my family actually grows and sells through our nursery. And then I planted those all in this garden bed, and those were the very first things that I planted, along with a big, beautiful butterfly bush in the background, which kind of really holds that corner against the wall. I actually have 3 different colors of buddleia in that clump, and I have them growing together so that I get a nice mixture of red, white, and blue. And I also went with a bunch of different colors of iris. I think it's a lot more fun to have a variety of different colored irises rather than just one single color. And they all have a little bit different height levels of the foliage and the flowers, so it gives a lot of good interest. Once I had those planted, kind of around the very front of it, I started going in with those sedum. Basically, they are these trays with a bunch of different kinds of sedum and a little bit of ice plant, and I just cut them into little squares, and I just planted them all around the base of those iris, around the lavender, all throughout the bed. And over the last 3 years, it has really filled out, providing a lovely dense texture of different kinds of sedums, different flower colors, different foliage colors, different heights. And so it has this nice kind of flowing energy about it. And that was really the impetus behind the sedum, is because as it does get so much hot, intense sun and I don't irrigate, I needed something that would provide a really thick, dense coverage that would act like a living mulch, like a green mulch, and that is what the sedum does. But I also wanted to add a little bit more interest by putting in a couple different kinds of Dianthus. In particular, they've just finished flowering, but this is a vivid Dianthus, as well as another, I think it's like a peach pie Dianthus, that also have a really thick, dense coverage. And then not only does it keep the moisture trapped in, it will keep the weeds at bay as well. So providing that sort of mixture of different ground covers that kind of thread together, work together, that don't out-compete one another, that really is the secret to creating a nice, lush, green garden floor, which then your other perennials can sort of erupt out of, including these iris. Journeying through life, it's a lot like tending to a garden. There can be many unexpected twists and turns along the way. One day you go out, your roses look beautiful. The next day you find pests have munched right through them. And just like creating a beautiful garden, personal growth is a long-term process that requires effort and observation, patience, self-reflection. But when things come our way that we really weren't expecting, it can make us feel overwhelmed and oftentimes immobilized. But if we can just find a way to put one foot forward, we can start to see that change, that positive change taking place. But none of it can really be accomplished on our own. To tend to a garden correctly, you need to have the right tools. And when it comes to personal growth, one of the best tools out there is speaking to a professional therapist. Today's video sponsor, BetterHelp, is an online therapy platform that makes it easy to connect with a professional that can help you work through whatever life has given you. They'll match you with a therapist that has experience with the challenges you're facing. But if you find they aren't the very best match, you can easily switch to another therapist right on the platform. Go to betterhelp.com/plantvibrations or select Plant Vibrations at sign up to receive a discount off of your first month of therapy. So once those initial plants started to take off, I did have some empty gaps that I needed to fill. And so to include some different sorts of textures and different flower colors, I decided to add in these beautiful Veronica Royal candles, which give this nice vertical flowers in this rich purple. It also has a nice ground coverage about it. And then behind it, a few different kinds of Akalea yarrow. I have some white ones, some red ones, some yellow ones in different heights. So you have some beautiful repetition in the kinds of, like, you know, the repetition from the same genus, but different cultivars, different varieties within that genus really provide a nice interest. Just like the stone crop and with the yarrow, it really sort of works well when you do it like that. And then in the back, you can see I have a limelight hydrangea, which is really gonna fill out that middle section. It's a little bit younger plant. It's only 2 years old, so it really hasn't met its full capacity yet. That should be a nice specimen for the back section of this flower bed. But as you can see, I still have a little bit of ground coverage to fill out. So I did recently plant a little bit more sedum, but I also planted some lovely small allium. I think they're allium Chicago something or other. And that's also going to provide just a little bit of a different flower color, a little bit of a different flower shape, but it stays short so that it doesn't block the view of the limelight hydrangea. And it also is going to play well with the iris and the other perennials that I have growing. And it was really important for me to cover this wall. I didn't want to just have a blank white wall. So I planted 2 different kinds of clematis. This, I think it's called Victor Hugo, I'm not sure. And then an unmarked blue clematis as well, to just provide a little bit more interest going up this wall. That'll be a nice backdrop for that limelight once that limelight starts to flower as well. And this variegated holly was the only thing that I left from the original planting scheme that the previous homeowners had in this garden bed, because it did kind of block the underside of the deck. So I figured beautiful evergreen that will allow, it'll just hide out the ugly section of underneath the deck. So if I counted on my hand how many different kinds of plants I have like 2 kinds of Dianthus, I have a lavender, I have yarrow, iris, a hydrangea, those Veronica, the buddleia, the clematis, ice plant, did I say stone crop, the sedum, and the allium. So I really only have like 10 kinds of plants, but there's a lot of beautiful repetition. All of these plants, they have really thick, dense coverage, and the ones that don't, like the limelight that doesn't really cover the ground, I do put the ground covers around it. And by choosing a smaller plant palette, but maybe some variety, some variation amongst a single type of plant, mixing them together, having that sort of repetition, but also having some different kinds of flower colors, that's how you can create a very interesting, unique garden bed like I've created here in this. And I would say I'm pretty happy with this. You know, being the first garden bed that I created at this home, I would say, you know, I give it a pretty good score. So hopefully you found this video helpful, inspirational, and gave you a few different ideas on how you can create a really nice, thick, dense coverage that is interesting throughout the year. You know, I have a couple, the sedum and that holly are evergreen all year round. So it really does provide some interest throughout the year. Different flowers at different times of the year. The Dianthus bloom early, then the iris, the yarrow is just starting up, the lavender will be here soon, the clematis is right now, the royal spires, Veronica right now. So I do sort of try to get a little bit of variation in when things are blooming so that there's always something going on here in this garden bed. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to give this video a like. We're bringing new plant-related content every single week. Thanks for joining me here on Plant Vibrations. I'll catch you soon. Ciao.